Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome to Matt Chat. This is episode 2. Our topic today is going to be on tryouts and team selection. I'm super excited about it. I've actually been nervous about it all day long because if anybody knows me or knows, the way that I am, I'm usually the man of few words. I kind of sit back and listen and just take everything in until I have something, really important to say. So today it's a little bit of a switch, me actually having to host a show and being the moderator. But I'm going to do my best. And again, this whole project is about everybody stepping out of their comfort zone. So I'm going to kick that off and start with me. My name is Victor Rosario. I'm the co-founder and owner of the Top Gun All-Stars. Been in business since 1994 now. I've served on multiple committees from the NACCC to the USSF Rules Committee currently, and a bunch of other projects. But I'm super excited about the guests and the lineup we have today for our topic. So let's go ahead and introduce them. First of all, we have John Hebert, all the way in California, about 3 hours behind schedule with me from Power. And we have Andy Wicks and Brienne Thompson from across the pond in the UK, representing Zodiac All-Stars. And then we have Brad from Cheer Athletics in Plano, Texas. I think everybody knows Cheer Athletics around the world. And so again, we're just super excited to have such a mixture, such a wide array of people from the industry, both from how long they've been in it, where they're located, the size of their gyms. But one thing they all have in common, which is why they were chosen to be part of my show, is that they are experts in their field and they're doing something right. And that's why they're at the top of their game. So let's go ahead and introduce you guys yourselves. John, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, just your program, how long you've been in business and how many locations you have, things like that.
My name's John Hebert. I am the owner of Power. We've been around since 1998. We're in California. We have 2 locations, one in Clovis, California by Fresno, and then one in Rockland, California by Sacramento. I've served on the NACCC as well and on the USASF on various boards as well. So glad to be here.
Awesome. Thank you, John. How about you guys? Andy, Brienne, from all the way in the UK. You guys are 5 hours ahead of me, so it's about 9 p.m. over there?
Yeah, that's right. Thanks for including us. My name is Andy Wicks, co-owner of Zodiac All-Stars. We are from near a town called Brighton, which is right on the south coast of England. We run 2 locations. Brienne has become the mastermind in our gym for anything choreography based and technique driving and stuff like that. So it's been really cool actually seeing the evolution of our gym kind of expand a little bit and also be able to teach the kids how to take ownership of things and all that kind of good stuff. So over to you.
Very cool.
Yeah. My name's Brienne, and I've only been doing cheer about 7 years. But got stuck into it quite quickly, ended up coaching and kind of taking over with Zodiacs, and it's been really good. We've had a rough journey to start, I'd say, but learned a lot along the way and had a successful past couple of years, and
Awesome. And is the official name of the gym or the program Zodiac All-Stars? Because I went on your website and it said Zodiac All-Stars Cheerleading, so I just want to make sure that we get that right.
Zodiac All-Stars.
Zodiac All-Stars, that's fine.
All right, cool. All right, and last but certainly not least, we have Brad Habermel from Cheer Athletics.
Hey, everybody. I am Brad Habermel, one of the co-owners of Cheer Athletics. We have a handful of gyms across the country. I have been doing this since 1991 and actually did camps with Victor back in the early 90s and have known –
say that.
Well, I was 8 then. I think you were like 20. I was only 8, so just kidding. But I am super passionate about the topic we're talking about today. Like, I feel like at the end of the year, every year, like I start to like, oh, is this the last year coaching? And then when I see all the tryouts start to happen, I'm like, oh my God, I get rejuvenated and get super excited again. And so thank you for inviting me to share this experience with you guys today. I'm excited about it.
Absolutely. Now, I know exactly what you mean. I'm having that same feeling right now. And I know that when this comes out, it may or may not be exactly in the same time we're in right now. But currently this is May 7th, 2020, and we're going through the whole COVID-19 pandemic, which has affected our industry tremendously. Probably the biggest change we've ever seen at least as long as I've been in it, for, almost 30 years. So we're all kind of in the same boat. Well, rather, we're in the same storm, but different boats. Mm-hmm. Some of us are starting to be able to open up again. Some of us are still kind of on that stay-at-home order. I don't know how things are so much in the UK. You guys kind of going through the same thing? Anything looking promising to be able to reopen soon?
No, I mean, they're announcing more on Sunday, but currently we have no idea.
And actually, it was kind of difficult for some of the kids because they actually only got, as a gym, we got to compete one time. So we competed a couple of teams at NCAA.
Yeah, we had our travel teams compete because they went to NCAA, but yeah, our season we don't start competing until March. So.
Right. You guys, your season is kind of flipped from ours. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, we compete March to July.
So at the moment, currently, there's 2 events that are still pending. Depending on what they kind of announce on Sunday will depend on what happens with the rest of our season.
Gotcha. So I'm just bringing that up because that's going to be an interesting component to add to this conversation because it's now something that we're all going through at the same time rather than, having multiple years of experience doing your tryouts and everything a certain way. We're all kind of having to reinvent ourselves and just figure it out as we go. So this is cool too, to be able to pick each other's brain and see, what are you guys doing that is starting to work for you over there, and what can we look forward to over here? And maybe we can try those same ideas. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the topic. Again, it's about tryouts. Everybody's right now either in tryout mode or they're about to be, or they're hoping they can be sometime within the next, couple weeks. And then how that translates into selecting your teams and putting together the right group of athletes and kind of how the whole process and methodology and philosophy is for how our different programs do that. So let's go ahead and talk about, first of all, what is some of the things that you guys do when you're starting your trial process as far as how you construct it? So how about, John, go ahead and tell me, what is the process for Power?
We actually migrated away from the actual tryout component about 6 or 7 years ago. We found that we were having a few teams because we were trying to take everyone, although we would love all of the resources and finances to come in, that we were taking all the athletes, and there were certain athletes that were prohibiting some of our teams from being successful. So we went to a sign-up process previous. We actually start and give discounts on their membership rates, their practice time. The earlier they commit. And then when we start up, we have a 2-week workshop, similar to a tryout, where we see where the athletes currently are. And then we tentatively place athletes on teams. During that workshop, we will work tumbling, jumps. We start the stunting. We sort the kids out to their potential teams. And then usually the month of June, we really stunt a lot more. And then move any athletes that are struggling in the building skills, because that's become so prevalent and so huge in the scoring aspect. So we want to make sure that everyone is a well-rounded athlete. And if we need to move an athlete or they're not doing it, or we have 7 flyers for 4 spots, those other flyers need to be able to base, or we need to find a home for them that they're going to become a well-rounded athlete. So our process is a little bit different than most of having the tryouts. We're a smaller program, we're D2. So not by choice, but we want to be competitive. And so it's a little bit different, looking at that aspect. In order to be competitive, we need to make sure that we place every athlete and they have the skills to be on those levels, whether it be a level 1 athlete all the way up to level 6 athlete. They need to be well-versed in all of the skills that we need for those teams. So it's a little bit different, being smaller, we have to be a little more selective to be competitive with some of the bigger programs. If we go head-to-head with the D1s, I don't mind going head-to-head, but I want to make sure that we're competitive and we can, have a shot at winning. So parents invest a lot of money. And so that's kind of our philosophy within the gym. It's skill-based and not numbers-based.
Gotcha. And just to let everybody know, you said you're a D2 gym. How many athletes on a normal season would you say you have in the competitive all-star program?
Not counting novice, this year we had 108. And we've been D1 in some years. Economics out here in California is a little bit different. And then once we started really making athletes and families accountable for their skill development, that kind of migrated some. You have those families that think they're certain levels, because they have they're a, level 5 athlete, or a layout makes them a level 4, but they don't have specialty tumbling. They're one-dimensional, and so we just changed our philosophy on that, and kind of try to change the culture of what we're about as a program and try to attract those athletes. And so, yeah, I think it's been successful. Obviously, we'd love more numbers. I think all of us would love more, but it works for us, and it plays into our tumbling classes and stuff like that, where we hold the same skill requirements in order to move up their various levels within that. So it plays hand in hand.
Awesome. Very interesting. Brad, what does the tryout process look like at your athletics? So here in Power, they're talking about not just taking everybody, or not even really doing a tryout process, but just, hey, sign up. We're going to place you where we think you belong based off of these skills. And then we'll kind of practice it out a little bit, and we'll see if we need to make any adjustments. What does it look like at your athletics?
Well, for better or for worse, we're in the state of Texas, and we are opening up on the 18th of May. And so we're doing tryout clinics on the 19th, or actually open workouts, the 19th to the 21st, and we're starting our tryouts right after Memorial Day. So our tryouts look very different this year than they will have ever any year before, because we're still required for the 6 feet of social distancing. So we are mapping out our gym in a grid, basically, but to start at the very beginning, kids go online, register, they fill out everything online, their tryout sheet, they check off all the skills that they have on their tryout sheet. If they're coming for our flyer evaluation this year, since we can't put flyers up, they're going to fill out their flyer sheet, and then they're going to send us a video of what they look like on the competition floor last year, not on 3 big hulky men that they would never stand on in a real routine, because we know everybody can hit. I can go up on that. So we want to see what they look like on a competition floor.
Right.
And we're also, for our non-tumbling, I don't know what non-tumbling is going to do at a tryout. So they're going to jump, and then they're also going to show us some videos of them doing level appropriate stunting for world's caliber teams. But all of that will be done before they walk into our doors. The actual tryout process is there's going to be kids lined up 42 feet back every 6 feet. They'll be in the same spot with their mask every go round. They'll come out on the floor. We look at their best running tumbling, their best standing tumbling jumps, and then we also do a mini routine that kind of makes them more accountable to their skill set. So they start off with a running tumbling pass. They get a couple 8 counts to breathe. Then they do a standing tumbling pass. Then they do jumps, and then they do another standing tumbling pass. So we're looking for like the technique of their skills. We're looking at the consistency of their skills. In the past, we have spotted to get kids warmed up for skills. This year, we're not spotting at all. It's like either you have it or you don't have it. So we're telling them just to be the most comfortable with the skill set possible. So Plano alone last year ran about 960 kids through our All-Star tryout. We did not place everyone, but from there, we go through the tryout sheets and start to try to find out where people fit the best, and place them with stunt groups, which is going to be very interesting this year, not seeing people fly at tryouts. So I don't know how that's going to go. But our first team practices are supposed to be June 13th, provided this coronavirus does not take off and skyrocket in Texas, which right now it's starting to trend up a little bit. So I'm literally praying every day that it stops. So tryouts, I think, for everyone, and anybody watching this, your tryouts are going to be different this year. But I feel like we are the most creative kids sport in the world. I mean, and arguably we have Victor on the screen right now, one of the most creative people in our sport. I feel like we can easily come up with ways to be creative, to keep kids engaged, to get through the tryout process, get through this no building time. Like, we can figure out ways to make it work because we're used to being creative. We're used to making it work. So there's going to be challenges ahead with all of this, and it's daunting. I talked to a D2 owner in Michigan yesterday that's like, I just don't know if I should close down or keep going. I'm like, no, keep going, because we all need to stay in business in order for us to still have an industry. So I'm hoping, Victor, I love that you guys are doing this, because I'm hoping it's like an educational component for people to see that they're not alone. So
absolutely. But just give me an idea of what has really changed as far as, obviously we know now we have to have the social distancing and all that, but if it wasn't like that, if you're just doing a normal every year cheer athletics tryouts, how much different would it look? Would you still be requiring the same skills? Would you still be looking for the same things? So none of that's really changing. You're just basically having to see it off a video, but you're still looking for the same stuff.
Yeah, the way it's being administered is different, but what the end result is going to be is exactly the same. We look for strong technique. We do not look like for pushing people up levels ever. Like we don't hold people back, but you have to have the full skill set to be at a level. And if you, like what John was saying, if you've got a great layout, but you can't do any of the standing tumbling, you're not a level 4 kid at chair athletics. You have to be very well-rounded in order to be placed at a certain level. So to answer your question, none of that is changing. All of that is going to be exactly the same. And it's probably going to even be more stringent than it's been in the past because kids have been out for 2 months. So we're really going to see what can you actually do. Like you coming off a 2-month break, not doing anything other than your tumble track in your backyard, which is going to be so scary with them coming back to spring floors. But it's going to be an honest tryout. And everybody's in the same boat.
Yeah, I'm excited about that part too. We actually are starting our evaluations via Zoom and just looking at the videos and everything. And funny enough, we're finding that most of the athletes and the parents, they're just happy to get the process started again.
Yes.
And they're almost like, hey, just put me wherever you want. I'll stay on the same team as last year. I trust your judgment. I'm hoping that we'll have very little to no, confrontation with any kind of parents with the decision that we make to place their kids or what position they might end up in. Let's go over to Andy and Brienne. What does it look like when you guys conduct tryouts at Zodiac All-Stars? Aside from the whole Corona thing, let's move that out of the picture for a moment. And if you're just doing a regular every year tryout, what does it look like? What do you guys really hone in on as far as this is what we want to see out of every athlete? These are the meat and potatoes that they have to have in order to make these particular levels and teams. And then these other things may, complement those areas.
Yeah, so for us, sometimes we hold our tryouts just before our last event, sometimes the week after, depending on kind of what works for us in terms of dates, because towards the end of our season, sometimes we compete like week in, week out, and then people kind of want to break up for summer. A lot of English people spend most of their summer holiday away. Mm-hmm. So we can't get much training in over summer, so we have to kind of figure it out before if we can. But I think a really big difference for us is we have a hand in every team in our gym, except our novice teams. They're the only, we still kind of keep an eye on what they're doing, but every other prep team, any level, one of us will work with them. And we don't get a great influx of new people. So although we hold tryouts to, kind of see if they have improved and we haven't seen it, or, I think it's more to kind of mark the end of the season and a new beginning for the athletes, something to look forward to. I would say over these last few years, more than anything, we kind of take the full season as a tryout, and we remind them of that when they're sometimes struggling or things like that. And we'll say, well, you say you want to get to this level and you're not going to get there. Like if you're not, you haven't got the right attitude when it comes to learning this skill. So, but I think that is very specific because we get to see most of the athletes and we're a small gym. It's easy to then kind of use that going forward. But we still have tryouts, and we usually get them to, same as kind of what you're saying, Brad was saying with tumbling, but we actually get them to kind of go through each level. We often find it tires them out a little bit more and shows whether or not, by the time they got to that full, like they've already had to do almost every running tumble up to the full. So at that point they're like breathing hard, and at that point I know, okay, you can land that. If we're not completely satisfied, then they have to land it a few times because consistency is super key for us. I think one of our biggest mistakes in years before was like, oh, you landed your full today. Oh, great. Yeah, you should. Yeah, that works. You should be on that team, because in England, you don't have people walk in the door with tumble skills. Well, we don't, at least. I know a few people do, but in general, you get complete new people to the sport. So we kind of have to see if they're ready, mentally as well. And also in England, I would say hobbies are seen as hobbies mostly. I love when we come over to America, how seriously everyone takes it and how it really is that kind of lifestyle. And I think once the kids get into it, they're in that position as well. Yeah. But for new people, we have to be really careful. We've tried it before, placing them onto some of our higher commitment teams. And they're like, I did not sign up for this. It's we've got to train extra this weekend because we're not ready and this type of thing. So we really try and outline the commitment, what it means. People don't know what cheerleading is in England. So when they walk in the door, they're like, oh, this would be fun to do once a week. So we kind of have to base that on where they should be and stuff like that. But yeah, I would say tryout is kind of tumbling. We usually teach them a bit of choreography, see how they pick it up.
We want to see if they can perform without being prompted.
Because don't know if you've met many English people, but we're all a bit reserved.
Yeah.
So we have to see that we can actually perform. See if they work well in a team. Put them like in a little group with people. And we also like to include some conditioning in our tryout and see how they can like mentally cope with that, depending on the level. But you know, you might be like, right, everyone needs to hold a 3-minute plank. And even if they can't manage that 3-minute plank, it's how they then deal with not managing that 3-minute plank. It's less to do whether they could do it, because we know we can condition them to that point.
And sometimes I think we actually give them certain conditioning skills that maybe they can't achieve, because we want to see how they deal with not, you know, achieving or hitting that goal, because then we can obviously see what they might be like in certain situations where maybe a stunt or the routine's not going well for them. I think geographically we're in a really difficult situation. We actually have a gymnastics program a couple doors down with like 1,000 kids. We actually teeter on D1, D2. We've gone more D1 because we have 2 locations. One's about an hour away from us, but generally speaking, people don't travel that far. We have a couple of kids that will travel an hour, hour and a half, but anything more than that, we don't. And what we find most years is people from other gyms might contact us, you know, to do tryouts or join, but they might come in with, I'm a level 3 athlete, or I'm a flyer on a level 4, you know, for example. And a lot of the time they don't have the fundamentals right. So we tend to offer them lower levels. And then they kind of do a few tryouts with different teams and kind of take what works for them. So we kind of may hinder ourselves a little bit at times, I guess, with that. But I
think we definitely do, but we take every level and every team so seriously that I try and explain to them that, you know, if you do a year at this level and we can build you up the way kind of we need you to be, then I feel like you'll be more successful in the long run. Because like you said, especially in England, you get people that have been on a lot of higher level teams come to your gym and it's not quite where it needs to be. So usually it's good to kind of see out a level at a season at a slightly lower level. But yeah.
I think it's super interesting that you guys also find a way to incorporate some conditioning and kind of that mental training also. Let me see how mentally tough you are and resilient you are to be able to get through what's going to be a tough season from practices. And we all go through it. The summer months are brutal. You know, that's usually the time that they're thinking about they want to be at the beach or the lake or whatever they do in your area. They don't want to be at cheer as much, but they still want to be able to have all the fun and everything when it gets to competition time.
Yeah.
And getting them to realize, well, this is how you get to that. And you know, you have to go through the tough times to be able to enjoy it and stuff later on. So I think that's really cool. But so how many athletes would you say you would have on an average tryout year?
Our main location, if we break 100, maybe 110, I would say.
And then each group, we kind of divide it into age categories. But I'd say the most we've ever had is about 30 at once, and then kind of break it up. But yeah.
So our tryouts tend to be a bit more relaxed, I guess, in that aspect. It gives us an opportunity to really see and study every athlete. I think we're quite in.
We try to make it a bit like training, so they can get a feel for us and we can get a feel for them, rather than make it a completely different process. And then when they come into our gym, you know, for it to be normal, everything's different, and maybe the chemistry or dynamics didn't work and it's not for them. Like, we try and be, you know, we condition all the time, so that's why we're going to condition at tryouts. You know, we start how we mean to go on.
Right. I think that's, who knows, maybe it's a unique situation because both you guys and John's gyms are on the smaller end, that you have that flexibility to be able to take that time, give a little bit more individual attention. Whereas at Top Gun with myself and then with Brad, we're dealing with a higher volume of kids. So if we gave every single athlete that amount of time and worked on that many things, our trial process could go on for weeks. Yeah. I know that at our gym, we used to do the old-fashioned style where we would have every single staff member sitting up at the table in the front, and one kid would come out, and then we started doing it where it was like 5 at a time. So tumble out, tumble out, tumble out, tumble out, line up on the little tapes, and then do your standing pass, do your jumps, do your stunt. Okay, next group. And we were all just sitting up there for hours on end. And we realized after multiple years of doing that the results really did not change from when we decided to do it the way we're doing it now. Whereas we'll have, at most 3 kids go with one coach. We'll take, 3 strips, and we'll just go through kind of like a private tryout with them. It has really de-stressed the whole situation. They feel so much more calm, more relaxed. They mess up, it's okay, honey, do it again. Not a big deal. You know, they feel more connected to the instructor that they're doing it with, and then they're done. And we're able to get through that whole process a lot quicker and provide that more personal attention like you guys. So I guess we kind of found a little bit of a marriage between the two styles of doing it.
Yeah, I will say this too, speaking and specifically to that, we break up in really small groups as well, and we're watching the individual skills, but what we were finding is it was very hard to train our staff to judge all the athletes on the same scale. Like what I think is a 5 out of 5, somebody else might think is a 3, and then we get these tryout sheets and this kid is a 3 on this sheet, but really you look at her tumbling, you're like, oh my God, she would be center on any team. She's a 5. And so we make sure that each athlete, there's lines of like 7 or 8 kids, and you have 7 or 8 for your standing tumbling, and then those staff rotates. So a whole nother staff member is looking at their running tumbling, and then a whole nother staff member is looking at their mini routine. And we also changed our judging system to where a 5 means she would be front, and or she or he would be front and center in your routine. So if it's a 5 jump, like it could be center of the routine. If it's a 4, it'd be like right off their shoulders or in the second row. If it's a 3, it would be in all the rows behind them. And if it's a 2 or it's a 1, it's not on the floor. Like it's not in the routine. So
basket, you're doing the dance in the back.
Yes, literally. You better be able to do something else. So it kind of streamlined how we picked or how we scored people. So it's very easy to say that if it's a 5, she could be 5 of your junior 2 easy, or center of your junior 2. So that kind of helped us with the volume that we had. But we also make sure that not one coach not one athlete is just seen by one coach. They're seen by a few, because we need to make sure we have multiple opinions on them for us.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because we actually do the same thing. We have each athlete has to be seen by 2 different coaches. And one of those coaches would be usually, because we can look at their trial sheet and see what skills they checked off, where they cheered the past season, what position they play as far as stunting, and say, okay, you know, this is a kid that might end up on Lady Jags. So we're going to have Coach Greg, who coaches Lady Jags, be one of her 2 evaluations. And then the other one might be someone of a different level team that they coach, but still knowledgeable enough to be able to handle a kid that comes in and maybe throws a double full and not feel like they're completely out of their league trying to judge that child. But yeah, I do agree. Just bringing that consistency is super important. We've had the same problem before. You know, coaches are letting a kid throw a back handspring they just got in their private lesson last week, and they're automatically recommending them for youth 2 or junior 2. And they never would have been on any of our teams. It sounds like, you know, they still would have been on level 1 or even lower than that if needed.
Right.
I think one of the things we introduced this year at the start of the season, and it's kind of a shame the situation we're in now, but is we're pretty new to iClass Pro over the last couple of years. So we started using the skill tracking options throughout the season, started early in the season. We kind of go 1, 2, or 3 stars. We have different categories in there. There'll be conditioning, tumbling, flexibility, jumps, etc. And then throughout the season, we kind of put the onus on the kids. So the kids have to come up to one of the coaching staff at any point and say, hey, can you evaluate my toe touch? And then they'll look at the toe touch, they'll grade them 1, 2, or 3, and we'll be really clear about, you know, what's a 1, 2, or 3. The great thing about it is if a kid scores a 3, at any point, one of the coaches throughout the season can go, hey, can you show me your toe touch real quick? And if it's not a 3 anymore, we then downgrade that to a 2.
Mid-routine, it's looking like down here again. I'm like, you've got 3 stars here. Like, that doesn't look good. Like, you know, it needs to be more consistent, or I'll take it back down. That's
been really good, actually, because we found it because it motivated the kids. And I think we have got quite a large core staff, but generally speaking, there's kids that kind of come down and do a bit of open stuff at times. So what we wanted to do is give them more structure, as well as things to, you know, work on and tick off. And obviously parents can see on iClass Pro how their kid's doing. So if they don't make a team or a team they thought they were going to get, it kind of helps us go, well, you know, how many stars did they get? And
yeah, we're really big on perfection of skill. So, you know, unless you can do a handspring with feet together every single time, then don't be looking at that level.
Then you're a 2. If we can see 1 correction, you're a 2. Any more than 1 correction, you're a 1. So it could, and then it's a good way of dealing with kids that are kind of on that 2-3 border, because I go, well.
Plus, they want to work on it for so much longer than they used to. It used to be like, can I move on now? Can I move on? And I'm like, oh, no, you can't move on. And they're like, yeah, I can't move on. Like, give me more drills to get my feet together. And they'll happily spend hours, like, trying to achieve that next star.
So when it came to tumbling, we literally listed every tumbling skill throughout the levels, whether it be running or standing, add speciality stuff in there, etc. It seemed to work really well. The other one we added in there, which was kind of more one we'd be more impressed with, is conditioning. And we would say, you know, how many pull-ups can you do? Can you do this many sit-ups in this amount of time? How long can you hold a hand? Yeah, same sort of thing. So we do like the proficiency stuff. So yeah, that's definitely worked for us, I think, this season. And actually, while they're doing the Zoom stuff at home, we're incorporating that going forward as well.
Great, very cool.
We've used
go ahead, John.
And what we've done is, I think parent education and athlete education is the most important thing we can do. So we created big wall boards with what we're looking at for tumbling skills for our cheer teams, as well as our tumbling classes. So our tumbling kids who are not part of our teams, that iClass Pro system, we go to 5 stars, and then that's how they move up. But an iClass kid, when they're looking at their star rating, they can also, it translates into what cheer team they would be at our facility. So it eliminates a lot of the parent interaction that we might have had. If she's this level or this level, we can just point to the new athletes coming in and say, actually, you're this level and this is what you have. And then on our team component, what we did is we broke everything into a low, medium, high, and then elite for every skill set or level that we have. The elite of a level 1 is really a standing back handspring and a power hurdle back handspring. So you're still a level 1 athlete when you have those skills. It's kind of changed the culture to saying you need at least some sort of specialty tumbling to be a level 2 athlete at a 5-star rating. If you're not 5-star, you don't have that skill. Even though she might be throwing it on the floor, it's not clean enough to be considered 5-star, so you therefore don't have it. And it's really eliminated a lot of hassle in our team selection process. And we started about 2 years ago. So anyone coming in starting in October can start prepping for our levels, you know, whatever that level team is for the next year, knowing that I need these skills. And then, you know, sometimes we do have those borderline kids that may have the tumbling but just don't have the stunting that we might go around. But that iClass Pro that we use and that 5-star system has tremendously helped us and solved a lot of our problems, except for obviously the new incoming kids, where we have a couple workshops that will work with them and then give them their star rating so their parents can see online and have that conversation where they're asked how they can make their skills better to get to that level that they're wanting to achieve.
Thank you. You touched on that, because one of the questions that I had written down to ask you guys was, you know, are there any different types of systems or tools that you use to help you facilitate this process and to help clearly define the expectations and create that culture? And it sounds like you're using, you know, more technological thing with the iClass Pro. They're doing charts, like I do charts and stickers and things like that are very easy to see, and for the kids to be able to always have right there in front of them. When they walk in the gym, they can see kind of where they are and where they want to be. And just having that constant visual reminder really helps them to stay focused and stay on track of what their goals are. Brad, do you guys have anything like that as well?
Yeah, well, specific to tryouts, we use a program called Airtable. Each athlete gets their picture taken by a height chart, so we can see if they're like a giant for their age or really, really tiny for their age. So we have that.
This way too? I keep joking about that every year at trials. I'm like, I'm going to make a silhouette. If you fit into this line, then you're a flyer. If you fit in this one, you're a base. That kind of thing.
Yeah. Can I see a picture of your mom and dad too? But we use Airtable, and basically all the athletes, their pictures there, all their skills get inputted, like the scores of their skills. And then when we're doing actual team selections, the coaches will get the Airtable, and they'll be able to sort how many athletes that I have that scored 8 and above a 3 on a double full, or how many athletes scored a 5 on a toe touch, and it will sort the numbers for each one of those teams. So we'll script every single team to make sure that, do they have enough strong jumpers to hit the score sheet? Do they have enough specialty running, tumbling? Do they have enough specialty standing? Do they score high enough in those in order to be able to hit the score sheet? So before they even meet their team, they know through the script on Airtable and through hand scripting, because we do it twice just to double check, that their team is either set up for success or it's set up to fail. And if it's set up to fail, then we go back to the drawing board, scratch the team, and start over. So Airtable is what we use. So we don't use it through iClass Pro. We use iClass Pro through our registration system and everything, all that. But Airtable is the one that we use for the pictures and scores and all that stuff.
Is that some type of software that you have to pay a subscription for, kind of like iClass Pro?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know what the cost is because I'm not the technology guy here.
But
that's Jody and Ambril. Ambril and Jody both. And I'm like way down, like number 100 on our list for technology. So, but yeah, Airtable is awesome for our tryouts. And I like the pictures. Like I'm sure everybody does pictures, but I like being able to see that, okay, all of the flyers on this team are under 5 foot and they have the same body type. And I have back spots that are 5'8". There's a good height ratio, differential and height ratio too. So from main, sides, back. So
I love that. Well, I just learned one thing that I'm stealing from Chair Athletics, and I don't care if everyone knows it. we actually just have a slab of wood, and we painted it and made it look like a ruler. It's like a 6-foot ruler, and it's up against the wall, and the kid just stands against the wall. And we have one of our staff members take a picture with the iPad, and you can see, kind of like a mugshot, holding their number up. Yeah, that's what we do. That's awesome.
So very similar, maybe less mugshot here.
Well, it's Miami, so we're a little bit more hood than you.
You said it. Just kidding.
All right. So I'm wondering now, so what would you say is the single most important thing that you guys look for when you're picking an athlete for a specific team? Like, do you weigh the tumbling skills at the top? And if they don't have these tumbling skills, well, they're not even going to get a second look to possibly be on these teams. Or is it stunting, because stunting is the majority of the score sheet? So I'm looking for, how many back spots, how many flyers, make sure my stunts work. And then do they also have good tumbling? What do you guys do when it comes to that? John, let me go with you first.
We start with tumbling. That's the first thing that we'll look at, obviously, and we pick our teams based on that. When we start the stunning process, which usually is the first week of practice, about after a week or two in, we'll find things that we're missing or lacking or those type of things. Then we will look to offset that with other athletes that may not have the tumbling skills, but they're great basing or backing. And then we will offer them to come and work out with the team, again, seeing that chemistry and those type of things. And then, if they make it, they can still make the team, because we're still by far, since we started out with the tumbling, meeting the score sheet requirements. But we start with tumbling, then stunting, and then making sure that, they meet those things. If we start stunting and we have 5 flyers and we only need 3 for smaller teams, then we need to make sure that those athletes are getting the opportunity to learn to base or fly, and give the parents other options, either to move to another team or to cross over to another team so they can become more well-rounded. But that usually takes shape. Usually we have the last 2 weeks as our workshops. Usually that is the month of June, is that kind of final configuration. June is the last time, June 30th is usually the last time that we have athletes, we call it Inspire Day, where an athlete will want it to be on a certain level. They'll have that time limit to have all the skills required to maybe move up to. Maybe they didn't get an opportunity. They weren't involved in our program. They don't understand that we tumble completely from power hurdles, except for fly springs, punch fronts, and double fulls. Everything is going to originate from a power hurdle. So coming from other programs, they're used to taking tons of steps. It might take them a while to get acclimated to our style. So we give everyone that time frame, but we definitely start with the tumbling. That is the first and foremost, making sure they are a 5-star rating on those skills. Plug that in their iClass Pro, and then that way the parents, even though a lot of them drop off here, they're very involved in other things, they can log on at 2 in the morning and see how their athlete is, and then we can have in that family choice component what's best for their family. It might not be best for power, but you might move from a level 3 to a level 2 because of skill sets. You're wanting to go certain places, so that's kind of how we look at it. We've also created a limited travel kind of component that some families are now migrating to, where they're not going to travel out of the state of California. So we have level 1s. We're looking at possibility of level 3, just because finances in this sport is a little expensive. So we give them those alternatives. And so even though they might have the skills for something else, they choose to downgrade to something that, allows them to have their brothers and sisters involved in other things. But so we look at those things. I cannot imagine 900 kids and going through a trial process. We're a little more, individual based and seeing what they have. And the tumbling is probably the hardest for, I think, smaller programs to look at. And so that's why when we change to that skill-based concept and not taking everyone, that kind of changed the culture. And so that's the first thing that we'll look at, and then building, and then setting aside time in the late summer, early fall to really extra practices just allocated to just stunting to make sure that we're up to snuff, for the D1 programs, even though we're D2.
Right. That's impressive. And I haven't had the opportunity to see any of your teams recently, but when I was asking around who can I speak to from the D2 realm, your name just kept on coming up. And so I'm excited to, after we log off of this, go search on YouTube or wherever. I don't know if you know of any videos, or maybe I can just have you send them to me. But I want to see what you guys are looking like. I remember back in the days when you guys were, had larger teams. I think you even had some co-ed teams at one time. That's the power I remember. But it's been a long time since then. Andy and Brienne, what do you guys look for most when you're picking your athletes? Is it similar to John and you're looking at the tumbling skills first, or stunting, a little bit of both?
Obviously we have to look at the tumbling because you have to hit certain ratios, and also for choreography reasons, for some teams, yes, you don't need full tumbles, but we will require full tumbles for some choreography. It depends on the team. We have certain teams where, it would make that bit of difference to have the squad tumbling. So we want it there and we want it to a certain level. But to be fair, it is similar in some ways. But I'd say overall, once we've kind of looked at their skill set, for us it is really mentality, how they work with other people, how they respond to us, mindset, how coachable they are. I would really say that comes into our tryout process more than anything. And like I said, it is probably easier for us having a smaller gym and having worked with most of the kids. We don't have many new people come in the door, particularly on tryout day. We might have new people join throughout the year and join rec and then slowly kind of filter in. But overall, we're kind of working with similar athletes. So yeah, it's really a lot to do with their mindset. And, we do have some teams as well without people tumbling, and that would be, if they're kind of progressing in other areas. And a big one that we look at is, what role are they playing in the team? How are they encouraging each other? How do they make practices better for everyone, and that type of thing.
I think also we don't have the luxury of reserves or anything like that. And actually, we were discussing this the other day. We've actually offered our alternate spots even on some of our most committed teams, and people don't want them. People tend to have the mentality they want to guarantee to be on the mat and stuff like that. So that definitely plays into it as well. Some of our kind of higher commitment teams, we tend to, after the teams are selected, we tend to maybe have a few extras and then filter out that process. We had one girl make a team this year that we were pretty sure wasn't going to make it. And it's because we had her as a back spot. And then randomly one day we just kind of put her under the stunt and it worked better. So it just kind of worked out in her favor that time.
Yeah, I would say that we take summer to kind of, see if it is correct. But the chances of having any type of full team doesn't really happen. So we have to kind of wait it out a bit. But, if it's not working, we'll make the switch whenever we have to. I mean, we've changed up teams a month before competitions before.
Sometimes we even
competition, if it was that bad, you just...
We might go small to extra small and that sort of thing, no problem. We don't mind doing it because
we just want it to be a positive experience for everyone, and we want everyone to feel like they're achieving. And if that isn't working, then we do our best to kind of change it, whether that you need to be lower, you need to be higher. We try and not see it that way too much in our gym. I mean, it's hard because when you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, they know, you can't even tell the novice kids really. They know exactly, they've used numbers. But we've really tried to alter the mindset in our gym of, it isn't about that. It's about what you bring to the team. You know, like you were saying before about crossing over to other teams. If, you know, I've said before, she's like, oh, I want her to be on that team. I'm like, yeah, but she won't be in a stunt. She'll be, you know, around the back of stunts, waiting, not progressing, not getting any better. But if I put her on this stunt, she might base in the center stunt group that are doing extra. And, you know, it's about your own progression.
Yeah, and I think we actually hold our, whether it be Prep or All-Star, we kind of hold them to a similar standard in the sense of, you know, we kind of say to them, you know, if it's 2 level 1 teams, everyone can do the same skills. So you actually, if your goal is to kind of get onto these teams later on, more committed teams, then, you know, let's make this team the best one it can be for you guys as well. So we definitely have kids. I mean, one of our biggest things isn't more the level thing anymore. It used to be. And to be fair, we used to have a lot more higher level teams, but we kind of failed a lot because the kids just weren't ready. Maybe they weren't strong enough. Maybe they just didn't have the right team around them. So I would say 9 times out of 10, training's a positive, and we kind of go with the, you know, be happy at training, make sure you bring your best version of yourself, you know, leave any problems in the gym before you walk out the door. You know, if you walk out the door at the end of the session, we presume you're happy. And that's kind of how we have a very open kind of policy with that. So, but I definitely think what I'm noticing a lot more is a lot of our prep athletes definitely want to go to All-Star too quickly. And what we found in one of the teams this year, actually, a few of them did make the All-Star, say like 5 of them, and I think 4 of them quit because it was just too hard, because, you know, that step is quite a lot. Not even just on skill level, because a lot of kids will say, you know, I can base this or I can tumble this, but I think a lot of it is the mentality, and especially if you want to be competitive. And we aspire to be competitive with the likes of you guys. So for us,
I think that was a big switch for us. We stopped looking just around us and we started looking everywhere else. I mean, we've been traveling to America, going to different gyms, and, you know, always trying to learn, like wherever we go, like, you know, how can we get better? What can we do to change? And, you know, we were kind of watching teams, you know, I think like one of the teams I watched was Cali White Gold, like years ago. It was years ago, and their level 1 teams were like, it was insane compared to England. Like, you know, level 1 wasn't taken seriously at all. And then I turned around and I was like, I think we need to pull back and rebuild, because look what they're doing. And, you know, our level 5 don't look that good. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I was like, we have to pull back. And when it took about 3 years for everyone to kind of understand it. And I think we lose people because of it sometimes, but it's what works for us. And, you know, all I say to athletes is, when you get off the floor and you watch your routine back or play back, doesn't matter what level, doesn't matter anything. Like, if you can look back and be proud and like, wow, that really looks like a show or a performance or something really good, then I feel like we've done our job and they've done theirs. And
I think one of the things we actually learned kind of this philosophy quite a few years ago. Actually, it was at Chair Athletics in Plano. You know, there was a big thing about, there's a lot of hype, wasn't there, about hitting 0. And we kind of were
no one in England really said it.
No one really did that. So we went in I remember going in the gym and there's like flags going everywhere and everyone's jumping around. And we were talking about it and we're like, it just made it fun, made it exciting. And it didn't make it about something slightly going wrong. It was kind of like, you made it, you hit it. And actually one of the things we kind of push for now is, you know, we need you to be happy walking off the floor. Because if I already know you're not going to succeed at this. I mean, we had a team this season that was going to be a level 4 and we dropped them to a level 2 like 3 months in because they just kind of weren't ready. And then they went to the competition. They did really well. They were grand champion at the events, had a great score and a great experience from it.
They were amazing.
So we had there's so many kids that, like I say, they just want to progress too quickly. So our biggest thing, and like I say, it probably prevents us from growing, but we would expect our level 5 kids to have a back walkover, maybe a Valdez, that kind of thing, as you know, as well as level 1 kids. So
your team was literally jaw dropping, like literally jaw dropping. Like I was like, is this real life? So
they've had a few, and
oh yeah, I know, yeah.
Would you say, Brienne, that you guys have just recently, in the past couple of years, you've won Summit in a few different divisions? How many times now?
So we've won Summit twice. In the same division, International Junior 1. That was back-to-back, and they were meant to head this year. But the same team then went to NCAA this year. and they won. And then we had a prep team go to NCAA this year, and they won as well.
We challenged the team in the International Junior one. We challenged them to try and score a 99 at NCAA, because we're like, this is the best teams in the industry. Like, you know, put yourself amongst everybody. And, you know, day one they did drop. We were lucky enough to still be in first on that day. And then they got a 99.85, I think, in the end. And it was, for us, it was incredible because it kind of reinforced all of those training sessions that
I guess you have to decide what, you know, what you see as success. And like, I feel so proud, and it's something I like doing, but I like to come up with a routine that, you know, pushes the boundaries and, you know, makes cheerleading look like more than just cheerleading. So if we have to do that in level 1, then I'll do it in level 1. I'll do it in the level that I feel like we are going to make an impact and change something. You know, we can all be doing all the levels and all of this stuff, but yeah, that's kind of the story behind that team, really.
I love that you guys, both you guys and John, brought up a lot of different really important points that I hope people watching are taking out of this. Is that big thing is your culture. And I know that when we started back in 1994, the way that we saw cheerleading and the way that we picked our team was vastly different than what it was 5 and 10 years later. And then it changed again. And we're constantly evolving. And as the score sheet and the skills got harder and different things factored in, we kept on evolving with it. We didn't just stick with one model and think that it's going to work forever. I love the fact that you guys pointed out that, yes, the skills are important, but also the way that the kids interact is important. You know, do they make it fun? Are they there for each other? Does it feel like a trusting team bond? And I've been a part of teams as an athlete, and I've also coached teams that we had the most talent we had ever had up until that point. And we accomplished the least when it came to success, if you're judging by placement or, you know, how well we performed, if we hit 0, things like that. And it was because the attitudes of people thinking they were a little bit better than others, or they didn't have to work as hard because they were so good. Those things just really destroyed the team from the inside out. So even if we picked the best team from tryouts, those components would ultimately be the demise of the team. So yes, you might first look at the team for its skills, but at some point you have to kind of weed out those bad apples and really create that culture that's going to foster the right kind of attitude, you know, of a growth mindset. They're going to continue to work hard. They're never going to become stagnant and settle and get complacent and just continue to push. And I think, Brad, you probably can relate to as well, especially being in the co-ed divisions. You know, we deal with boys and girls. Sometimes there's a little bit more of that.
Yeah, speaking specifically to culture and passion, we tell our coaches when they have their folders at tryouts and they're getting ready to go to their first team practice, that this is basically their business. Like their business, their livelihood is in their hands. And so like that very first day that they go and meet all the parents and all the kids is their moment to sell their product. And so if you go into that first day, that after tryouts, and you're like, yeah, I'm excited about our team. They look like they're going to be good. And I think we're going to be pretty great, you know, and it's like kind of whatever, then the kids have that whatever attitude. So we tell our coaches, like, that moment defines your season. Like, what are you going to tell them? So it's awesome to like kind of hear how they build a brand. Like everybody here has built a brand, how they build their own brand. And we don't really have kids that are unhappy about making lower level teams, because some of our lower level teams are better than our best world's teams. Like literally they are, yeah.
My daughters and I were just talking about it yesterday, and she was telling me how she saw them doing back walkover into immediate ground up TikTok stretches, like, and that you have an A, B, and C team just to be on the level 1. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, but it's all about building the culture. And it's like, you know, 5 years ago, before that team got really good, it was like people pulling teeth to get people to be on that team. But now people are like, I want to stay on that team. Like it's because of the passion that the coaches showed and the heart and the drive. And I truly believe like that, like filters down to everybody else. And if you're like excited and you're ready to go, the kids are too. And I think that going in from tryouts into those first practices is like the make or break time, regardless of what your team is going to be like. If you're excited and you're motivated and you're fired up, like, oh my God, our team is literally going to be amazing. I can't promise we're going to win every competition, but we are going to come out swinging. This team is set. We are stacked this year. Attitude is everything. Like literally it permeates and builds through the entire program because of that. So Yeah. I love what y'all were talking about with the passion part. I wanted to just reiterate it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's funny. I think back and I still remember most of their names, but I remember having amazing teams every single year in large co-ed, and every single year having to make an example out of the best stunter or the best tumbler on my team. And it was always that kid, for whatever reason, that just, it was ruining it for everybody else.
Yeah.
And, you go back and forth. Do I keep him? Do I keep putting up with it? Is it going to get better? Or do I just kind of cut him loose? And eventually we end up cutting them loose. And other kids who you didn't see as having that same potential, they just rise to the occasion. They're like, okay, well, there's some shoes that need to be filled. Time for me to step up. This is my time. And we've had kids that we didn't think were going to be as strong as stunners as the one that we lost become better than that. Same thing with tumbling. And I think that those kids, it's funny, I even still have some of the emails from those kids years later contacting me saying, I know I was a pain in the butt. I know I gave you grief, but thank you for kicking me off. It was the best thing you ever did. It changed my life. I now coach and I see what I put you through. And that's even more, even more reason to write this letter. So sometimes you have to, do the hard thing and make the hard decision and take the road less traveled to make sure that the team is successful. Because at the end of the day, the kids, the parents, they're all expecting for you to look out for the team, not for one particular athlete. If that athlete is the one that's ruining the experience for everybody else, then maybe their commitment level is not in the same place as you and the rest of the kids. Maybe find out what that is. Maybe it is a non-travel team or something else, or they just want to do classes. And sometimes they should not be around it at all because this is a privilege, and sometimes they don't deserve that privilege. But I think making that tough decision and going down that road less traveled will end up paying off in the long run. And I think all of us are here living proof that taking that road less traveled has worked, and it is continuing to work. And like you said, it's created that culture where people coming in, they're already like, you know what? I heard the story about that guy, that girl. I'm not going to let that happen to me. This man means business. This woman means business. This is how it is here. And it also helps start to attract the right kinds of athletes because they're realizing that, this is where you go is no nonsense. We're going to have fun. We're going to work hard, but it's serious, and, you can't play these games. And likewise, on the flip side, they know the programs they can go to that do allow that, and that's where they'll go. And those programs will continue to maybe be subpar.
I think that's a good point because we actually had some kids even this year where, we have been fortunate enough over the years to do well. The kids competed 2 months ago and every single team won. So we were very lucky to have that feeling just before this situation. But to be honest, some kids will come from other programs because they want to win, and they just think because they join this team, it will just happen. And when they're doing the 10,000 reps and getting told, that walkover wasn't straight enough, or the handspring did still have bent knees, feet apart, whatever it might be, or, just because you had your stunt in the air didn't mean it looked good. Those kind of training sessions, it really kind of highlighted when kids come to us from other gyms, they either will kind of change that mentality or they won't. They tend to not stick it out really, don't they?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the athletes that it came easy to are sometimes the hardest ones to work with. Naturally they just were good at it. And then, you have the kid that had to work so hard at it. And they're usually the kids that step up if you then have, it's not everyone, but, if you then have kind of an attitude problem, it's, the ones that have had to work really hard for it that tend to kind of shine through, I feel. But we've been in that scenario before where you're like, oh, I don't know if we could manage without that person. And if anything, I've learned across this whole time of coaching that you can manage without anyone if you have to, and just, make it about the team and make it about everyone having a good time and having good memories, because that's, okay, you remember when you have big wins or big hits or but overall, when you talk about we've been reminiscing about last season with some of the teams because, just talking about memories and stuff where they haven't been able to compete. And, the main thing people talk about is, oh, well, she always said to me before my stunt, oh, you got this, and how they encouraged each other and how, their little chants before warm up, it was about that kind of thing. So,
yeah. And I think on top of that is also, Len, we try and get that into the parents as well a little bit, because if you can create the memory, then you're not always gonna remember the win. And you know, you guys will be testament to this too. Like, you know, some of the kids win a lot, so sometimes the trophy and the banner doesn't mean the same.
Some of the best trainings are when you lose. Yeah. You know, they get back in and suddenly they're ready to go, and you're like, that's what you needed. So yeah.
We have definitely lost a lot more than we've won, but that's what made those wins that much more special. And it took us 6 years of getting second in a row. I think we got third in between one of those before we finally won our first NCAA title. You know, and I remember it was like big monkey off my back, because back then I was the kind of coach that was very fixated on, I wanted to put together a team that was very much competitive and strong all around athletes like I was, because I was competitive and I was very self-driven. So that's what that was my attitude going into it. And then that changed over time. And as I had my own children, I started to look at the way that I was coaching and saying, I wouldn't say, or I would really, you know, go after a coach if he said or did things to my daughter the way that I've done to past athletes or past teams, thinking that was going to motivate them to do better. You know, so my coaching style kept on evolving, you know, as the teams evolved. So I think it's super important that, you know, when we're selecting our teams, it's not just the athletes that are going to make the team successful and what they bring to the table, but also, like Brad said, how much the coach is invested, how much time are they really putting into planning and the training and being there for the kids, both inside and outside of the gym. All of that contributes to the overall success of the season.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go on, Brad. I'm sorry. I was just going to say, no team, no matter how great they are, can guarantee that they're going to win every competition. It's just not possible. So if you're selling the win, then you're always going to fall short. The experience, I agree, Victor, like in the early 2000s, I was like, it is all about the win. That is it. Like, let's win. We are going to beat everybody. That's all I'm concerned about. But we grew the minute we were like, hey, we're going to be the most positive place for kids. We're going to have fun at work. We're going to let the kids have fun. We literally doubled in enrollment that next year and have continued to grow because of that, because we sell the experience and we sell the year. We don't sell the win. We don't sell what even really happens on the competition floor. That's not what we're selling. We're selling like this entire experience, all these amazing practices, all these great friendships, the families, parents getting to become friends. Like, that's what we sell. Like, it's not a win. So I agree with all of that.
I think one of the really cool things, we were talking to one of our athletes, she's come through the program and she's coaching for us now, but she was, she's now, won Summit twice and she won NCAA this year. And we were talking about, when she was, 5 years old, when she started or something, we were coming 10th and 15th place and we were still kind of just as happy at that point. And then over time, we've said it numerous times, kind of the success and the winning part of it can sometimes hinder you as well, because sometimes people, will focus on that. Sometimes we'll have parents start filming from second place. We're like, hang on a minute, even if we came fifth, maybe it was a good fifth, maybe we deserved fifth, maybe that's the best that team could have got. So I think definitely similar, really. I'm trying to create the experience because this will last, with them for their life. And we're all trying to set up decent people. So I think that's definitely what we're all trying to do anyway.
Yeah, I heard a saying, I can't remember exactly who was a said or where I read it, but it basically said, never put your success in the hands of other people. And if you're basically riding your whole season on what 6 judges sitting up there at NCAA or Summit or anywhere are going to think of your routine, you're in for, a lot of disappointment because they don't always like it. Some of the routines that I think were the most amazing, both that we've put out or that one of you guys have put out, not everybody else liked it, didn't score as well. But in my mind, I still remember because, wow, that's what I envisioned cheerleading should look like. But that's not always reflected on score sheets or by judges. So, don't put your success in the hands of other people. You guys did that by deciding it's going to be about the season, not about the win. So you took the power out of the judges' hands and you put it in your own hands. And that's why you have 8 locations now and 901 location. And you guys have done the same thing, and that's why you've continued to have this steady growth and consistency at being successful in D2, in D1, even across, the world, coming over to the US and competing against the teams and the gym that have been doing it for way longer. So clearly, I hope that people that are watching this are are realizing that, and that you guys were able to figure that out, not growing up in the US where All-Star Cheer began, but from watching and seeing and then going back and reevaluating what you were doing and putting into it your own values and what you think is important. And look where you are now. Back-to-back summer champs. Probably could have three-peated if we had one, so.
Actually, it's interesting to say that because I didn't really know about cheerleading at all when I was younger. I literally only came into it when I was like 15, and, I didn't have a very good opinion of it, to be honest. I was like, my friend was like, you have to come. And I was like, oh, like, why would I go to cheerleading? Like, I wouldn't she's like, no, you have to come. So I went along. And I feel like ever since then, like with our teams and our team selection process, I'm trying to, always make sure we put something out that, if someone hadn't seen or doesn't know what cheerleading is or has a bad opinion of it, they can watch that and be like, wow, cheerleading is so cool. Like, why did I not know about this? Why am I not doing it? Why am I not involved? And I feel like that's had a big impact on me because, now cheerleading is like everything I do. So.
Right. That's awesome, guys. I love all the feedback we're getting. So I'm going to ask this one question, and I'll start with John. What would you say has been the biggest mistake you've made in all of your years, looking back now, when it came to the tryout and team selection process?
For us, it was trying to think that we had to grow, that we had to take everyone and to make every family, at the beginning, you want to be on this team and you want to do that. And we were trying to make everyone happy. And in the end, it made the coaches, the staff, myself unhappy because it was very hard to manage the teams throughout the year. And so we cut what I like to call coattail riding, the athletes that didn't work, that didn't possess the skills, and started to form teams based on what they could do together, based on their skills, based on the coaches, and just try to change the culture and the environment. We at one point had 3 other franchise locations. So we were at 5 locations, and I was running amok, and I was just trying to make everyone happy. And I decided to start making myself happy and my staff happy. And so we started changing the way we were doing things to make every day enjoyable at the gym for the athletes and the staff as well. And so, that was the biggest mistake early on in my younger years when I had lots of hair that I did. And now I'm much happier. I mean, we're using technology now. I wanted to even cut back on the amount of travel because one of my gyms is about 3.5 hours away. And so now we FaceTime every practice. They go FaceTime 5, where they'll FaceTime me the routine, show me. I talk to the kids. I talk to the coach. I can see, and I'm almost like hands-on, but I'm not physically there. And so it's great. It allows me to be everywhere now. And I think I'm the happiest I've ever been. So, going back to the olden times, trying to make everyone else happy now is a great time, So I think that was our biggest mistake.
That's awesome. That's a great answer. What about you, Brad?
I mean, I don't want to steal John's answer, but I'm going to be a broken record. I mean, I think compromising the integrity of what we thought in order to keep people happy, and I'm not talking just customers, but keep staff happy and keep, when we finally made the decision that, hey, this is the CA way and this is what it's going to be and this is how it is, and you're either on board or you're not on board, like it was like life-changing for all of us. And also, like, the biggest mistake that I personally used to make is I was like a control freak, and I had to have my hands and fingers on everything, like every decision, every email, literally every part of it. And that was the biggest mistake I made because that was holding us back too, because there's no way one person can give everything to everybody. So when I started letting go of the reins a little bit and allowing others to kind of spread their wings, like we took off as well. So from a personal side, me just letting go, and then from a business side, holding true to what our CA way is and not compromising for any reason, and holding true to that value and the belief system no matter what, even when it was hard.
That's awesome. I totally agree with you. And my wife is the one that would be like your shoes and having a hard time delegating and just letting things go, because in her own words, she says, I'll let someone take the reins and run with this project. and then they'll do it wrong. So I have to do double work anyway. So I might as well just do it myself the first time and just get it done right. Yeah, that was hard. But I think, especially now with everything that's been going on, it's also been good for our staff and for us as gym owners to see who is really rising to the top as the people we can lean on. Mm-hmm. And we've had our core group of probably about 5 coaches that have really, really stepped up and have been there to help create all these different projects, whether it was recognizing our senior athletes to give them something because all their senior activities got taken away, graduation, prom, all that stuff. Coming up with the live Instagram shows that we were putting on, creating the virtual trial system that we're doing now, like all of them just stepping to the plate and helping to take some of that workload off of mine and her hands have been, fantastic. And we're starting to see, just like you see with those athletes, the ones that just, they wait to be told or they just never come around. It's just not, their jobs clearly are not that important to them that they're willing to just come in and be like, you know what, I don't care. What toilet do I need to scrub? I'm here for you. What can I do? And then continue to grow from there. Because I understand it's hard when you feel like, well, I don't know how to do any of the things that they need me to do, or, that's not my forte, out of their comfort zone. But we all started it there at one point. I mean, you and I started in the grass 27 years ago thinking, we know we want this, but we don't know how to get there yet, but we're going to figure it out. And that ultimate goal of, having a team or having a gym was more important than all the struggles we were going to have to go through. Right. And we just kept on asking and networking and researching and trying things and failing until we figured it out. And that's why I think this is great that we have this platform now. We're able to share this information so that hopefully people coming up behind us don't take 27 years to get to where we are now. Andy and Brienne, what would you guys say has been your biggest mistake?
I guess it kind of roots to a similar thing, but I guess for us was trying to keep people happy by putting them on levels they weren't ready for. I guess would where it kind of boiled down to. I think since we've kind of let go of that, we've
thrived, really.
Yeah, really thrived. The athletes have thrived. Everyone's thrived. It's just become about so much more than that. It did used to definitely be all about like what level you're on, what skills you have, and rather than the experience. So I think for us, that was probably our biggest downfall. But
I think for me personally, I've never been good at losing. So when we first started the process, I didn't handle things well. I used to kind of be getting mad and frustrated and stuff like that. And, a little bit like, I would often challenge Brienne when she would spend, all session on one section and then scrap it the next week and do it again. And I was the panicker, like worrying about getting it all finished and stuff. But I think the other thing that was cool is what you said, Victor, in staff, because we've always kind of, because we're a smaller gym and stuff, we've always done kind of everything. You struggle with definitely letting go of some things because you feel
I can relate to people not doing it how it needs to be done so badly.
And also sometimes not seeing the positives. So often, what it's like, you'll get, parent emails that are frustrated or the kids will quit or whatever. And then I wouldn't always see the ones that sent me the good email or the ones that did say thank you or the ones that were appreciative of the work we've done. And actually, to be honest, since we've been in this, we're now like week 7, nearly every other email is positive. And our staff, some of them have only just got to the point where we can pay them. And the first thing they're saying to us is, don't pay us. We just want the gym to survive. We'll do as many classes as you want. And what do you need us to learn? And actually, one of the things we're trying to do probably more for the first time is we've never had kind of adult staff. They always kind of go through the program, get to that point, they go to college or university or whatever. So now we're kind of getting some career coaches. So we're trying to put a little bit more on them and coming up with ideas and, learning more about the rules and legalities and all of those kind of things that we didn't do before. So then it can, set us up for success as well.
I would say on a personal level, for me, that I definitely have been my downfall is taking everything personally. Someone would say like, oh, someone would send an email badly about you. And, I'd like be really hard on myself for weeks rather than thinking like, no, that's their opinion and let's have a kind of adult conversation about it. Or, even things like about the routines because I would do the routine and someone would turn around to me and be like, oh, I don't like that bit. And I'd be like, what do you mean you don't like that bit? I've spent ages on that bit. But now I'm like, that's fine. Like, and I decide whether, you can have your own opinion, and as long as I feel like I put my all into it, then I'm happy with you to kind of think what you think. But I think for people coming into the industry, because I think at times this industry can be really hard to walk into. Having walked into it, I feel like when it was already established, especially in England, when you're a new face, no one really, well, a lot of people don't want to kind of hear it. But I feel like if you just don't take things personally and try your best, then you will get there. It just takes time.
Awesome. Well, guys, we're actually at about an hour and 15 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up, because I know you all have busy lives, even though we're going through doing everything at home. I feel like I'm working even more now than I ever did when I was going to the gym. And it's my least favorite kind of work, because it's all through computers and my phone. And as you can see, I'm wearing glasses now more often because my eyes are going, not just because of the age anymore. So I'm going to ask you this final question. Let's finish on a positive note. We already did what's the biggest mistake. Now, what do you feel has been your one thing that has made the biggest impact as far as your success when it comes to tryouts and team selection? Whether it was a particular technological piece that you were able to implement, or if it's the way you change your philosophy, or whatever it is. What's the one thing, just pick, if you could pick one, the biggest impact in how we have become more successful through our tryouts and team selection process is due to what?
Anybody? I'll start off. Yeah, I'll start off. Honesty with the athletes of where they're at, where they're wanting to get to, how they need to get there, with the staff. Sometimes staff live in an alternate reality of where we're at. And then the parents, being transparent and honest with them about everything, why decisions are made, kind of educating, because the more I can educate and be honest with them, the more that will filter out to incoming people, and they can be my ambassadors for our program moving forward. So honesty and transparency to everyone makes life a lot easier.
I would definitely agree. Who else?
I think for us, when we went to a more fun, we made a conscious effort to make it tryouts more fun, low stress, and just high energy. It changed for us because we have a reputation, at least in our area, of being all about the numbers, not being like super friendly. That's the exterior perception that people have of us. And so when we kind of did everything we could to break that stereotype, it made kids like relax when they came in. They were like basically our biggest fans after that, and telling all their friends, "Oh my God, it's nothing like what I was hearing about. They're so nice. They're funny. The tryout was easy. It was low stress." Them doing that word of mouth, I think, was the biggest positive thing for us, because it completely flipped a switch. People can't say that about us at all anymore because it's not true. So it may have been true in the past, but not now, and hasn't been for a while. So I think that was the biggest thing for us, is just making it low stress, fun. Most of the customers' very first time stepping in our facility, and we don't want it to be intimidating at all. We want it to be like something that they're like craving to get back to.
Super important. I mean, we've been fortunate enough to make a livelihood out of our passion, and it's just like any other business, and we have to sell it. So they're coming in and they're not having a positive experience the first time in the building, they're probably not going to be back. Especially with so many other options in your state. You've got great gyms all around you. So why Pure Athletics? Why is this going to be where I'm shopping and not over there? Right. So I totally get that. What about you guys in the UK?
I would say maybe education for us as coaches, learning just more about the sport, trying to teach our athletes more about the sport, and probably, like we've been saying the whole time, just taking everything back to the fundamentals kind of has switched over.
And don't try and be the smartest one in the room, because even if you learn, someone does it worse than you learn something. And trying to teach the kids, and it's been a really weird one to not focus on the win, obviously, like we've been talking about, and stay humble. It's been a really key one to, obviously one of our teams has become a bit more well-known. So keeping them grounded and just keeping them working hard, and making them realize, and everyone else in the gym now it's kind of going through, is how they got there.
And the world is much bigger than cheerleading. We have to remind them sometimes.
And Instagram and
we've definitely had a hard lesson in that in recent events. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great answer, and I can totally relate to you guys on that. I am humbled to have had all of you guys on the show today. I continue to learn. That's why I'm staying active in the sport. That's why I haven't just hung it up. I feel like from an athlete and a coach perspective, I've been able to do all the wins that I've wanted to accomplish, 2 and 3 and 4 times over, but I'm still in it because I don't feel like I know everything. And I just want to continue to get better. So even at, almost 45 years old, I just want to keep on trying to get better. So I'm going to keep on picking brains of people that are older and younger and from overseas and from right next door. If I see that there's something that they're doing better than me, and try to add that to my repertoire. And I hope that people that are watching these shows really take that into consideration every time they're watching, and that they're not just watching it and then forgetting about it. But there's a lot of valuable information that's coming out of these Zoom episodes that I really hope that everybody takes advantage of. But guys, thank you so much for being on the show today. We're going to do a quick wave at the camera and say goodbye to everybody. But
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wish you guys the best of luck. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll hopefully see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
All right, guys, and that's a wrap on episode 2 of Matt Chat. Our topic again was tryouts and team selection. Victor, our host, dug in with 3 special guests on how they do it, all ranging from geographic location and how they're all different, including the different styles of gyms that they're running with the number of athletes. We dug in with John Hebert, the owner of the Power brand, which has multiple locations out in California. We dug in with Brad Habermel, the co-owner and partner at Cheer Athletics in Plano, Texas. And we also talked to Brienne Thompson and Andy Wicks of Zodiac All-Stars, all the way from Brighton in the United Kingdom. John told us a little bit about his 5-star process and how he tracks each athlete's progress throughout the year so they know where they're going to be falling come tryout and team selection process time each year. Brad told us a little bit how he likes to focus on selling the experience, selling the year, making it a year-long thing that we're committing to rather than just trying to make it to the end of the year events. He also talked about adding fun to the culture inside of the walls of Cheer Athletics. When we talked to Brienne and Andy, they told us how they learned more from losing and how that helped them take a couple steps back, work on educating themselves and the fundamentals to then take more and more steps forward, leading them up to the multi-time Summit champions now. And we'll end with a quote from our host, Victor Rosario from Top Gun. He says, "Never put your success in the hands of other people," which is something that really resonated with me because we have different judges every weekend. Well, good luck with your tryouts and team selection process this year. Thanks again to our special guests, and we will see you guys next week. Peace.